Well, great to have you on here today, John, and welcome to Real Estate Mavericks. We're going to hop right in here. John, you've got quite a career and leadership in short-term rentals, market shifts, short-term rental strategy. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
Very good. Great to have you on. So, what stood out for me right away, John, is your range from leading NASDAQ IPO to being early in research, marketing, and now applying that same kind of data-driven mindset to short-term rentals. You've seen multiple industries scale, and now you're right in the middle of one of the fastest evolving real estate sectors there is. So here we go. I mean, you've been involved at a high level, boards, investments, operations. But what made you step into this space personally? What was the defining moment for you on that?
Sure, that's a great question. And I think it's like so many other answers when it's something as substantive as a career change, there's always a couple of reasons why. So here, let's kind of experiment with those. So one is this is a peer-to-peer marketplace, right? We'll call it the Airbnb market, but obviously there's
Mhm.
bigger and older players in the space. And in a peer-to-peer marketplace, there's the consumer, and then there's all the people with the inventory, and then there's that one or more big entity in the middle, like Airbnb and like Expedia Group and so forth. And it's kind of a gold rush, right? We saw it with Uber and Lyft. We see it with
Mhm.
delivery, and we see it in renting out your own home. And when that happens, especially because the inventory is provided by property owners like you and I, assumedly, Bill.
Mhm.
There in a gold rush, there's that old saying, right? You don't want to be the miner, you want to be the guy selling picks and shovels in the middle. And
Right.
so so you look at that market and you say, okay, well, these owners, they're not really businesses, so there must be things they need to be as efficient as possible. And the guests, they're dealing with an unstandard or a non-standard inventory. So there's things that they need, right? Like they need a really good experience, and they need a trustworthy experience and one that's better for them. And so you look in the middle of that and say, what do the picks and shovels look like? And in our industry, on a B2C side, it's property management, right? It's going in there
Mhm.
and taking care of those property owners so that they don't have to be business people, so that they don't have to step outside of their comfort zone or their available time. And on the consumer side, let's deliver a great
Mhm.
experience for them so that they like that and that works. And just to tell you how much I believe in it, the company that I took public provided thousands of cars to Uber drivers because
Mhm.
a third of the people approved by Uber and Lyft didn't have a car. And so it was getting them car and insurance and doing it, where they could pick up a car in one day. And so, I didn't invent that picks and shovels saying. I didn't invent that sort of let's get in the inside of a peer-to-peer market, but
Mm.
I did that's kind of where I stepped in. So I really believe
Nice.
this was a great opportunity.
And you saw the opportunity the same as you saw in the Uber situation, and you're delivering basically what people need. So it's the
Yeah.
pick and shovels rather than going for the gold. So yeah,
Yeah.
and that's perhaps where the gold really is. Um, could you explain it a bit more? Property managers versus platforms.
Sure. I think there's two, and I said B2C, by the way, on the B2B side, not that I don't know if the audience cares, right? But there's a ton of software companies that are in this space now that are providing property management solutions, repair and maintenance solutions, pricing optimization, listing optimization, AI across those, as well as phone answering and customer service. There's service
Hmm.
providers all over the world providing services into the STR market. So there's a lot going on. But okay, so property management in this space. There's a reason that we exist, companies like mine, and there's a
Hmm.
reason why it's never been more important. The reason we exist is, and let's kind of stay away from the people that are renting out a room upstairs to somebody coming in, and we'll talk about people renting entire homes and condos and townhouses and tree houses and so forth. Um,
Okay.
So a lot of them don't live there. So it's already difficult to manage the boots on the ground piece if you don't live there. That's
Mm,
a lot of them are owned by um, people who have a job and they don't have the time that it takes to do this really well. And so they're not, they're not, they don't have the hours in the day to respond immediately and to take care of proactive or reactive things that aren't real time. Another thing would be it's confusing or it's difficult, and so they may not have the expertise to do it. So, the impetus to the creation of the property manager in this space, which was a long time ago, realistically 20 years ago, when Airbnb and HomeAway and those guys really got serious about the market. The impetus at that time was just, either I'm not there or I just don't have the time. But today it's different. Today the market's matured. There's millions and millions of Airbnbs, quote unquote, out there. And that industry is growing. The macroeconomics are good. More people, more time, more days, more stays, lots more inventory as well, which can create a problem. When a market matures, and any entrepreneur knows this, right? When a market matures, the people that tend to do well are the ones that bring expertise into the marketplace. Because as competition, when a market does well, competition increases. When competition increases and you've got lots of other houses out there that are vying for the same guest, the people that have the tools to win that guest over the other guest, they win. And that's expertise.
right.
That's systems, that's processes,
Hmm.
those are companies that do that. So the need to have a property manager today is so much greater because in every market, there's more inventory. COVID saw to it that paradigm shifted very, very quickly, right? So,
Mm,
so right now we have a lot of people coming to us saying, I'm not getting the listings, the bookings that I got last year. I'm not getting the revenue I got last year. Can you help us do that? And of course, I could say yes, but the nice thing is, one of the things that happened in this gold rush, so to speak, is a lot of data companies came out and they're measuring short-term rentals like hotels. And for those people that don't know how hotels measure their success, it's generally measured in not just occupancy, but the amount of money they make, right? Because anybody can
mm,
have a high occupancy at $1 a night. And that's called RevPAR, revenue per available room. So a two-bedroom should rent at a different rate than a one-bedroom, or
yeah.
revenue per available bed. And so these companies out there have incredible amounts of data that tell us every Monday we look at this stuff. It's like, okay, this is our RevPAR, our RevPAB for one bedrooms, two bedrooms, studios, accessory units, 5-bedroom houses, whatever it might be. And it comes back and says, compared to the market, you are 15% higher. You're 20% higher. You're 30% higher. So here's our conversation when we have a new property. We say, I can't get more people to fly into your city. I can't get more people to fly into Panama City, Florida, or Tulum, Mexico, or
Mm,
Maryland, or Baltimore, or Philadelphia, or Washington, D.C., or whatever it might be. We can't get them to fly in. What we can do is we can generate better than market, better than you can do, better than our competitors can do, at least, or let me say that a different way. Here are our statistics compared to the market. This is what we
mhm.
can do for you. And they get it like that. They
All
understand.
right.
And that does two things. It's the confidence of doing business with us. But the other part of it is it helps people understand why you're paying a property manager. If when
Mm,
compared to
mhm.
market, we're compared to a property manager, compared to somebody who is not an expert at it, we can generate twice as much revenue. That's not uncommon. So the
Mm,
fee that we charge is absorbed inside of that.
got it. Wow. So yeah, and you've seen the market evolve, especially post COVID.
Mhm.
What are the biggest structural shifts happening right now, John?
Oh gosh, could you have sent these questions in advance? And then,
Oh, okay. I surprised you with that one, right?
yeah, no,
But
I'm teasing you. It's a good
okay.
question. I just want everybody out there to recognize how little I know when I'm answering a question. Um, okay, so what are the structural shifts? So the first one is the percentage of properties that are moving to managed properties
Okay.
is
Wh-
really high.
Which you just alluded to. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, the inventory that grew since COVID is spectacular. And it's funny because it's also town specific, right? Like you can't build that many more units in Orlando. Okay, but you can in metropolitan areas. And so you see areas where a lot of stuff is put on the market. Another shift is a slowing in the real estate market means we're getting calls from people who have had a property on the market, can't get it sold, it's furnished, and they want to generate revenue for a while and wait for the interest rates to go down. So that is
Hmm.
really common today. Um,
I see. Hmm.
Baby boomers are leaving properties to their kids, and we could be talking about in Danbury, Connecticut, or we could be talking about Compton, California. It doesn't matter. And so one of the things we see is that there's generational wealth being created or the ability to retain equity and in families that in the past couldn't. Let me explain further. Um, so the thing that's happening, as you asked, is baby boomers are passing on their properties to their
Yeah.
children. Their children are keeping them. Why? Because um, okay, my father had a condo in Florida. The rents nowhere near covered my expenses on that condo in Florida. When he passed away and he gave me that condo, or my brother and we sold it because we couldn't afford to keep it up. Today, that's not true. Short-term revenue income is much, much higher than long-term revenue
Okay.
almost everywhere. So now you
Hmm.
have these families being able to keep that money, these kids being able to keep that money or um, that equity. And who knows, that's paying for college educations down the road that they may
Hmm.
not have been able to pay for. So that's a really wonderful thing. So we see that shift as well. Um,
Hmm.
and then
Okay.
AI.
Okay.
AI is a big shift. So we used to
Hmm.
have an answering service. People answer the phone. They charge us a lot of money to answer the phone, and all they did was determine who that call went to, and they transferred that call to somebody else. We don't do that anymore. So you pick up the phone, and it's a better solution. It's not just the cost saving. It's a better solution because it knows I've called this thing and tested it along with everybody in our company before we put it in play. And we
Hmm.
try to be so circuitous in the way we ask the question, almost confusing. And it would be like, oh, you want to rent out your house, or oh, you're locked out of a property in Tulum, Mexico. So it's really good,
Hmm.
but it's also tied into our CRM, which is HubSpot, and it's tied into our platform,
Sure.
which is Guesty. So it says, oh, okay, well, Bill Knowles, your Bill Knowles and your property is 123 Main Street, and your
Hmm.
lockbox is 7034. If that doesn't work, please, I'll stay on the line. Please let me know, and we'll get you to your backup lockbox. And that's
Nice.
instant, right? That's not in 8 minutes or 12 minutes. That's in 1 minute. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So it's higher quality responses at a fraction of the cost. Yeah, basically.
and a fraction of the time it takes to get that in front of somebody, right? Like I have a
Right.
team in offshore that's really good. They answer the stuff by text, but you know what? We're and they are with us. They will always be with us, but there's things that they don't need to answer. So this gives them more time. They don't need to
Yeah.
answer lockbox or Wi-Fi code or where is the fuse panel or where's the nearest Italian restaurant for families. We can do all that now without having to put a body on the phone.
All right. So you're seeing inventory explosion. Would
Uh-huh.
explosion be an accurate word?
Yes, absolutely. And
Okay.
although
More
the
competition?
first explosion started in 2022, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
after COVID, 2021, 2022, yeah.
Okay. More competition. And then is it slower profit growth? I mean, it seems obvious then that there could be slower profit growth overall for everybody, except the players that really know what they're doing.
Well, that's a good question. So there's definitely a drop in RevPAR in many, many markets as of last year in the United States. And the reason was the increase in inventory, which meant
Hmm.
if you were a single property and you weren't exhibiting best practice, probably your revenues dropped. Now, pardon me. I mean, that doesn't mean you could have made more money doing anything else, but it means that you either stuck with that decline or you took steps to resolve that decline. So that's one. The other would be across the industry, uh, revenue spent in the industry is up, inventory is up, number of guests in the market are up, amount of money spent per guest is up. So the macroeconomics in the industry are great. And there's a thing where people go, I heard a headline about Airbnb and their growth is slowing. Okay, well, that means they're growing, but it means their growth rate is slowing. That's either means one of two things. It means it's going to continue to slow or it's cyclical. It's generally
Yeah,
cyclical, but again, it's still growing.
got it. Nice, nice. Well, one of the most interesting things that you mentioned here, it's a shift from long-term to short-term rentals. Um, what's the macro view? Why is that happening at this time right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think there's sort of why does it happen in general, and then
Yeah.
there's why is it happening today. So why it
Mm,
happens in general is because uh, it is, with very few exceptions, a greater amount of revenue from short-term rental than long-term rentals. That's one.
mm,
Second one is it costs less to keep your property maintained in short-term rentals than it does for long-term rentals. Now, if I hear that coming from a stranger and I'm a stranger, I'm going to go,
mhm.
in this market, I'm going to go, that doesn't sound right at all. Right? How can I have short-term rentals, which sounds like I'm having 20-year-olds having parties, and they're yet somehow going to cause less maintenance or repair than long-term? Well, first of all, that statistic comes from the National Multifamily Housing Council. So it doesn't
Mm,
come from the short-term revenue industry, it comes from the long-term revenue industry. And the reason for that is, first of all, parties get our news, but the number of parties are a tiny, tiny fraction of Airbnb's business. And us as a property manager, we are exceptional. I'm really proud of this about our team. We are exceptional at keeping bad actors out. But even so, they're rare, even if for somebody that doesn't. And what happens is, in a long-term rental, you don't see your property for a year or 2 years or three, and it's been lived in, and you got to paint it. You may have to replace appliances, and floors need to be redone, and carpets, and there's holes in walls, and the average cost is 1 month's rent to redo a 1 year lease. And in the short-term revenue industry, somebody's in there once or twice a week, cleaning it, looking at it, seeing if anything
mm,
to get it addressed, and fixing it, because it's got to look like a hotel room. You go into a
yeah.
hotel room and there's somebody in there every day for the most part, and that hotel room looks perfect. And that's a great way of going, oh, you know what? You're right. Short-term rental has less wear and tear. So more revenue, less wear and tear. You look like you want to say something, but I can keep going if you like.
Mhm.
Uh,
Okay.
all right. So why else to do it? Retaining property. If I can make enough to cover my principal, interest, taxes, and insurance and maintenance, I want to keep it, right? How many of us had parents that said, oh, if I'd only kept that property, I'd be wealthy now. I wouldn't be tapping into your 529 to pay for college. And it's enough money that in so many cases they can keep that property. And it's enough
Yeah.
money that in so many cases it's income. So
Yeah. Yeah.
in general, it makes sense.
All right. So yeah, we've got higher short-term rental revenue, sometimes twice as high. Yeah,
Less,
we've got
less maintenance,
less wear and tear.
right?
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
property and it drives property retention as a result of that. Yeah.
Nice. Should a property owner consider before making that switch? What should they consider? What should they think about before they try to get into SDR?
That's a good question. And I'm going to mention one other thing, and that is that as a tenant, if a friend of mine calls and says, "Hey, I'm a tenant and I have a real problem with my landlord," this is what I tell them. Go to your city and then your county and go look at what the short-term rental laws are. And what you'll generally find is that the short-term rental laws are incredibly favorable towards the tenant. So if a friend is a tenant and they're having a problem with a bad actor or landlord, I tell them your city probably is going to litigate that issue for you or mitigate it and solve it for you. But that can hurt honest landlords too. And in many, many municipalities, easy for you to say, Bill.
Okay.
Many
Well,
municipalities, there's you've got people that'll squat that won't pay the rent, and the cost of getting somebody out, the cost of
oh,
the legal cost, the time it takes, the lost revenue. Evictions are spectacularly difficult, and there are people that, for no other reason than they don't want to deal with the evictions, especially in a municipality. They'll say, I'll do it for that reason alone, because I never want to be in that spot again, because it could cost them a year's worth of revenue. And I'm not saying um, that it shouldn't be hard for bad actors to get tenants out. but in most cases, the eviction process is patently unfair to the landlord. And so that's one of the
Yeah.
drivers. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Short-term rentals
I'm,
generally are they're going to create more income for sure, but
you
they
asked,
require more skill.
yeah, you asked a question. You said, well, what should I consider before getting into it? That's a
Yeah,
great
yeah,
question. So let me answer that because
yeah.
it's such a smart request. Um, the first thing is it's your home. Are you okay with other people coming in and out of your home? And if you know yourself and you say it's a business and there's nothing they can do that I can't undo, then that's a good start. But if you're one of those people that says, I absolutely can't bear with it, then you'd have to give second thought to it, right?
Yeah.
The second one is if you can look at it like a business person, then you've got a good chance of being really successful. If you're emotionally tied to it and
Mm,
it's hard for you to understand you need a manager, it's hard for you to understand that you need to furnish that apartment, it's hard for you to understand that there's going to be maintenance. And I'll give you an example. We won't rent a property if it's not in good shape. So we'll have, we have hundreds and hundreds of properties. But we'll have this conversation 15 times a year. We'll say, Mr. Knowles, we've got to repaint this section of the walls because you haven't painted in 10 years. It needs to get taken care of. Your air conditioner is going to need a new capacitor because it's failing on occasion. And and there's some other things that are just normal wear and tear in the property. And we will literally have people say, I don't want to spend that. And we'll say to them, the cost to maintain a property you own is on average, $2,700 a year. We're less than that because we're keeping it up to date, but you still have to spend the money. So part of that is just recognizing that it's a business and you've got to make sure you got enough capital to keep it going. And meanwhile, that
mm,
a lot of those people are profitable that are still complaining about that. So it doesn't happen a lot, but it's just you have to have that right mindset that says I'm going to do that. And I'll tell you, the best hosts are the people that go, I love my house. I love putting it out there. I love having people enjoy my property, and I love
yeah.
that makes money for me. And we have so many hosts that just look at this, go, this is wonderful, right? And I'm paying most, if not all, of my mortgage. So this is a win-win.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So people in general have to be comfortable with, hey, if it needs some work, you just do it. And if you're not emotionally attached to your property and you treat it like a business, that's probably the way to go then. In a nutshell
And
here.
you know what? We have a team that is fantastic at making sure that we don't get overcharged by a plumber for the work that they should do. We literally have software that tells us what something should charge, but frankly, they don't need it. They know, and so we keep those costs down pretty well. Yeah.
Nice. So you've got a great example here, going from four competing properties to 30 competing properties in the same market. How should investors think about competition today?
So Bill, you're talking about my own property on the Eastern Shore of Maryland,
Yeah,
and I'm glad you brought that up.
yeah,
Um, okay, so I'm a property owner. I got into this business because I was on boards in it, and I knew it, and I knew what it was like to rent properties. And yeah, when I first built this house in 2005, it's on the water in Maryland. Um, I didn't have that many competitors, and so from June 1st to September 5th. I didn't have one single open day. And although, 20 years ago, people booked like 3, 4 months in advance. Today, they book a year in advance, 6 months in advance. It's very much changed. And now,
yeah,
instead of competing with 3 houses with 7 bedrooms, I'm competing with 30 houses that have at least 6 bedrooms in my area. And the competition's tough. So I'm so successful because I'm fortunate enough to own this company. And while I manage my own property because it's not in our geography, the company helps with a lot of things actually, but um, yeah, this is what I found out. I found out that every variable I had to be great. So we took
okay,
great photos. We um, we took aerial photos, paid an aerial company to come out because we're on the water, so those pictures are really pretty, right?
yeah,
We raised the bar in our inspections We add more amenities to the property. So we're on the Chesapeake Bay. So when they show up, they get a bottle of wine, Chesapeake Bay crab chips. They get peppered from Chesapeake cookies. They get a handful of things from us that are a gift. And
Yeah.
we do that. And then, gosh, we call people. Who's coming out?
Yeah.
How can we help you? Do you want a boat? Do you want
Yeah.
is it family dinners? How do we make your stay great? And so we are really assertive about making a great guest experience so that the reviews are glowing. And then also, with the help of my company, the listings are professional and optimized for performance, and our pricing is assisted by software that tells us how to price to get the right price to keep people in the door at a profitable rate. So, and if I did not use those things to adapt, we'd be down, but our revenues are up. So
Nice, nice. So yeah, you're using the total professional approach here, and it shows. So um, basically, it's a separation point in this time between amateurs and professionals. Is
yeah,
that accurate to say?
absolutely. In any market, Bill,
Yeah.
especially when COVID brought us down, the people that survive are the ones that bring expertise to the market. Yeah.
All right. You mentioned something important here. More owners are moving toward professional property managers. So why is that trend accelerating?
Sure. Good question. Also, one of them is competition. Competition is
Yeah.
driving them towards managers. Um, the second one is the industry has matured to the point that there's a lot of information out there on the internet talking um, about why the manager percentage is increasing and what they do that's different. It's most of the time it's because they're not getting the performance that they used to get, or they're experiencing, time and effort and not conflict, but it's hard. It's getting
Yeah.
hard. And so, and when
Yeah.
the competition gets bigger and your property is more effort to manage, you start thinking about that. Um,
Mm.
and I'd
Hmm.
say the other reason is that there's a lot of people that are buying for this purpose and
Okay.
they're not local. And, look, the second home market exploded like crazy, but you need a property manager if you're not close by. And I'll say one other thing. Airbnb has really encouraged this, as have the other property, we call them OTAs, online travel agencies, but those channels have encouraged it because managed properties deliver a better guest experience, right?
Mm.
We're we're hospitality people. We talk
Mm.
about being in the hospitality business. We talk about making people happy.
Mm.
You talk to individual owners, if you go on a Facebook group of individual owners, what you'll find is, and granted, the negative always comes through, but you'll find that there's a lot of people out there that own a property that are very indignant. They're kind of arms folded. You know what? I provide a good experience. If you don't like it, go find another property. Well, you know what? My grandfather owned a bar. He said, everybody that walks in my bar is a guest, right? I mean, if they need to be walked out, I'll walk them out. But other than that, treat them with grace and kindness. Make them happy, share
Yeah.
their joy with them. And,
Mm.
and, and we do that. We talk about that. So,
Yeah. Okay. You've come from tech, scaling businesses, data-driven systems. How is technology changing the short-term rental space? I guess we're talking
sure.
AI here, but yeah,
Well, we talk about
revenue optimization. You mentioned that briefly. You're using software for revenue optimization.
Bill,
Yeah.
I love that you challenge me because you know this market pretty well, and I appreciate the questions. They're good ones. All right, so let's talk about technology. So, well, everybody thinks about AI first, and I would suggest this, that in our industry, there's two things that AI does for us. One is front office and one is back office. On the front
Mm.
office side, anything where we have the information to answer a customer for something that they need, we can do so more quickly and more accurately
Hmm.
through AI. And so that runs the gamut from everything from where do we route a call to the kind of questions that where we know what the answer is, it's just buried in software somewhere. AI is
Mm.
delivering that answer quickly. In the background, what AI does for us in many cases is it looks at our data and starts telling us where's information that we didn't have. Look at all of our calls coming in and in priority order with numbers. Tell us, how many calls are about not having enough laundry pots? How many calls are about um, We need blackout curtains in the windows, right? So we learn so much from that data. We go, hey, there were like 1.5% of our clients that talked about blackout curtains. Why don't we just require them and get them at a good price for our owners and put those in the bed?
Right.
That information is AI is it's like a gold miner with a razor blade for a shovel. It's just fantastic, right? Uh, so that's sort of the front end and the back end of AI for us. But
Yep.
it's far past that. So as you said, revenue
Mm.
optimization tools came out, right? So we all do this. We get online. We look for we look for hotel fare, and then we're on the phone with our cousin Nina, and she says, "I see that same hotel, same dates, for a different price." And if you call the next day, it's higher or it's lower. So we have that same software now in our industry, and
Mm.
it's not designed just to cut so that we can fill out beds, but it's designed to optimize. And so we have that, but every single vendor in that space will tell you, you still have to have a person doing it. You can't just set it and forget it, or it will make some pretty big mistakes. It does
Mm.
not that the Cambridge Ironman in Maryland is on this date and the rates are supposed to double. I don't, that's not true, but it's supposed to be higher. Um,
Mm.
and and where I would want people to understand if they're looking at property management firm is you as a person can use that software and a company can use that software, but I have full-time people on pricing,
Mhm.
and that makes us different than other companies. I have full-time people just on optimizing your listing for the algorithms for Airbnb and VRBO and Booking.com and so forth and so on. So they make great listings, and it's the aesthetics too. So pricing optimization, listing optimization technology. Another one is for service and support. We've got systems that tell us whether the price is right for a repair so that we make sure we're protecting the wallet of our property owner. That's really important to us. We have marketing optimization software. We have CRM software. So, we do
Yeah.
a great job of finding people looking for our industry, but also communicating and staying in touch with people.
Mhm. Mhm.
I
Okay.
I think you've got okay. So we vet people hard. In other words, if you have no reviews and you book a 3-bedroom house for one person 5 days before a stay, we're getting on the phone with you because those things don't add up. Okay. And AI can do that, but we get on the phone, we do a much better job. We have so few parties by comparison, so few parties, much lower than the ratio Airbnb has, because
Mm.
we rely on data and intuition, and I can't automate that. Can't do it.
Yeah.
Can't do it. It's worth it.
Good. Yeah, it's something that AI hasn't figured out yet. So,
Yeah.
uh, okay, automation, data-driven pricing, operational efficiency. I mean,
Hey, I got another for you.
yeah,
SOPs. So most people don't know what SOPs are, but they're standard operating procedures, right?
sure. Yeah.
Ours are a stack like this high. Um,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we do that because every when we set goals for everybody, they self-manage, right? They know whether they're a team or an individual, they know what's expected of them. So we have software that helps us ensure that there's procedures for everything we do, and it's really easy for people to find it. And that allows us to be consistent like a hotel, right? And I think that's a great look. God bless the hotel industry. And I think they set a great example, good hotels for other people. We've learned a lot for them. What we want to do is have this peer-to-peer industry where we're helping, you know, hundreds of families in Washington maintain wealth or maintain equity and funds in their family. They may be families and we may be a small business, but we'd like to be able to operate as well as or better than many of the hotels operate. And they've set a good example.
Mhm.
There's no hate there. It's not like tennis and pickleball players. So, yeah.
Nice, nice. So, another big piece you touched on is regulation. So, some cities ban STRs, others embrace them. How should investors think about regulatory risk?
Sure. Well, the first thing we do when somebody gets on the phone with us and they say, I'd like to put my property on the market is we ask where they are. And, if it's generally a market that we know and we say, look, here are the regulations in your area. And it's either permitted or it's not permitted or it's permitted under certain circumstances. And so we try to make sure we're the latest up to speed in that. We even work with our own municipalities to help set the regulations. And then if they have a condo association, we say, what's the relationship with your condo association? And if they need a permit, then we talk to them about the conditions under which they can get a permit. So,
Mhm.
it's the first question you ask, and I probably already answered it. It's either permitted or it's not permitted, or we check
Sure.
some of the criteria to see that it is permitted. Obviously, given how big this market is, it is vastly, leaning towards permission, permitted use. So,
Yeah. 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 Good information there. So if someone is a new investor and they're looking at this space right now,
uh-huh.
what should they understand? What are the most important things to understand in a nutshell before they
Right.
jump in?
The most important thing they should understand is our phone number, because
Okay.
we learned a long time ago. So there are data services out there that take historical data going back 2 and 3 years, and they look at number of bedrooms, number of baths, location, property type, all over the country. And we subscribe to three of them, not just one, three, sometimes four. And we put all that into a system. We add AI to that because we add our own numbers. So there's an algorithm that adjusts it against what we find. And we can tell you how much a property is going to make. We can tell you how much a property is going to make. So we've got owners and real estate agents and people calling us or going on to our system, which we give them access to. So they can look up what is the range of high, low on what that property can earn. And then the first thing you should know is, how much can I make? Is it worth it for me? Or am I over optimistic, or am I, in my case, when I built my house, I had no idea how much money I could make, and it was more than I thought.
Yeah.
And I made more. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The time commitment. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to manage it yourself or let a professional manage it.
Sure. First, let me tell you, we love to do everything, right? So we're in
Mm,
Washington, D.C. That means a whole ton of people we service are foreign service people, and they could be, in the middle of Eastern Europe, and we're managing their property. So they don't need any time commitment if they have a manager, if they have a trustworthy manager. Um, if you're managing it yourself, here's what you can expect. You're going to get somewhere between 1 and 15 inquiries a week, and you need to answer them the right way. Now, you should put together templated emails that you slightly customize so that
yeah.
you're doing that, but be ready to respond to those. And then as you get to that ramp up for a guest, you got to get them the information they need, and you got to get it on time, and you can't be late, because if you're late, you're going to cause agita. And if they're upset or concerned or worried because they haven't received the information, then things are going to start to build, right?
Yeah.
And as soon as you
Mm,
get into your property, well, first of all, you're going to need a Wi-Fi access to your property. You don't want to be passing keys around for so many reasons, including security. All right. You're going to want cameras on the outside, not on the inside, but you're going to want cameras on the inside, because there's information that you simply need to have, and it is permitted by Airbnb and others. Don't be, obtrusive. Never ever put one on the inside, but have them facing away from the house, so if somebody's at your property. And if you rented it to one person and 17 cars show up, you need that information, right?
yeah.
Um,
Right.
if a dog did $2,000 worth of damage to your brand new hardwood floors, and they didn't have a dog, and you see Rover running from the station wagon into the front of the house, you need that. There's technology
Mm,
on detection of smoke and detection of noise and detection of the number of people that are, the number of people that are hooked up to your internet. But you're a host from a couple of days before they stay there until after their checkout. And then you got to have it inspected, and you got to have it cleaned by the maids, and you got to have people repair and fix things so that they're ready to go. And then you got to find the right maids, and you got to have a plumber and an electrician and a HVAC person and a handyman. You got to have a gutter cleaning guy. You got to have lawn. You got to have pool. You got to have a bin service to carry those trash bins from the backyard to the front. So it's not just the time you put into it, which, as you can imagine, can add up, but it's knowing what best practice looks like and having the service providers and the processes in place to make that happen. It's a lot.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah. Right. So, can you put on your crystal ball here for a bit, your turban and your crystal ball, and look ahead, say, what are we looking at over the next 1 to 3 years in the short-term rental market?
Yeah, it's a good question. So first, I'm going to say something. I've met a lot of people in this space. I speak at and go to the industry events, including those at Airbnb and VRBO. There are some really really good operators out there. There's some people that we have taught some things to, but I guarantee you there's some great people out there that we have learned from. So what can we expect? I think those better property managers are going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And because for somebody like us that has hundreds of properties, we're a factory, right? I mean,
Hmm.
we're personal and we care, but you know, we have throughput, right? A lot of these smaller property managers, 10 properties with a property manager that doesn't have the right resources, that's 10 times the problem, right? So you'll see a lot of roll-ups from the small side of the industry to the larger side of the industry, and that's a good thing because
Consolidation. Yeah. Okay.
good because most of them are good providers. Yeah.
Tech dominance, where's that headed over the next 3 to 5?
Well, look, I'm a little long in the tooth, and I can tell you any industry that's got the kind of tech in it that we do, burgeoning, opportunistic, high value technology, they're just going to get better and better. I think you'll see more AI, and some of it will be poorly implemented, and some will be really well implemented. But I'm going to tell you, I would much rather get on the phone with an AI voice telling me my how to find this door to get into my property then I would be willing to wait 10 minutes for somebody to look up on the phone. I mean, so
Good. Yeah.
AI is going to have a
Okay.
good spot there. Yeah. Yeah.
What about the margins moving ahead? So professionals versus amateurs, how are margins going to look
You know,
overall?
if you could, if you could skywrite over the entire United States one sentence, I would tell you this. Your property manager does not get rich in the property management business. I mean, this is a really good business, but it's a service business. And service businesses are generally not massive, high margin businesses, right? So we have to be efficient. And growth for companies like mine comes from efficiencies. How do I deliver better performance with less resources, or with lower cost? And I'm
Right.
constantly trying to find, yeah, so I'll give you an example. I have people all over the United States and Latin America. Everybody speaks English and Spanish. We have a big, big presence in Mexico, but we have great people. And in the United States, I'm in areas where we're paying people to work out of their house, still take care of their children or their dogs or whatever they're doing, or their grandmother, that are getting paid really good money. And I'll tell you something, we love them. But I don't care if you're in, Washington, D.C. or California or Michigan or North Carolina or Iowa, it doesn't matter. So we're trying to hire people that we can make happy.
Mm,
We're even innovative in being a virtual company. And we get on the phone every day. It's a
mm,
very professional call, and then we get into the movie quote of the day or the
mm.
or the trivia question, and it all of a sudden turns into Thanksgiving circus with people, giving each other a hard time and having fun. I mean, so sometimes innovation comes in the form of even just how do you hire and who do you hire?
Mhm, mhm. John, so you've had a long career across quite a few industries here and very successful. What keeps your juice going at this stage right now? What keeps you pumped every day?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, the first one is I'll repeat myself. Sorry, but when we make people happy, we make hosts happy
Yeah.
and developers happy, um, then it's
Mm,
fun, right? When my team is proud of their growth and what they accomplish and the numbers, that's great. As we build value for the people that are members of the organization, and their careers advance and they go from being an expert to being a leader. Um, you
mm.
know, my goal is for us, the leadership of my company, to be what most of us wish we had when we were 25, which is to be the kind of people that set high bar, help people achieve those bars, be really happy and confident. Internally, having that really successful and happy team is unspeakably rewarding. Delivering good
Nice.
in the market, that's changing the world a little bit. That's really wonderful. And the other part
Mm,
is, I used to be in software and media. and you build this company up and you sell it, and then you do another one. In this particular case, to take a services business and find ways to scale it. I work for an accelerator as a mentor. It's called Mucker Capital in LA. It's been doing it for 15 years. It's the best in LA and in Southern California. We help new companies grow and be successful. Some of them are services companies. Helping others sounds like kumbaya, but I'm an old guy. White old guys, older people like helping others because we start to figure things out after a while. And
Yeah.
that is honestly who we are as a company. Makes us happy.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, John. Yeah. Keeping your residents happy, your clients happy. It's not a job. It's part of who you are. And that's come through the whole conversation here. And another thing that came through is it's your ability to recognize patterns across industries, from Uber right now to your success in short-term rentals, and applying that knowledge early, changing the industry for the better, and improving people's experiences. So, I
Bill,
mean, you're not, yeah, you understand how these markets evolve, but you keep it focused on the people. I really appreciate you coming on and doing this podcast today. Is there anything you'd like to say? And where are people going to find you here? Can you please let people know how to find you?
Yeah,
And your
sure.
company?
Bill, I want to pay you a compliment. I don't, we don't often get somebody who ends with such great insight and starts with insight. But you're absolutely right. As an entrepreneur, as a business owner, seeing over the curvature of the earth, trying to say, what is my industry going to look like 6 months, 18 months, 36 months from now, trying to predict in advance how I make these changes to accommodate how the world will change in front of me, getting ahead of it. These are talents that everybody has. They just have to wake up every day and start thinking about it and trying to put that together. And you're absolutely right. And they are in essence your words, Bill, and that's important.
All right.
They can reach us at greatdwellings.com, just like it sounds.
Greatdwellings.com.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's all it takes. In Mexico, and gosh, in Mexico, we service now more developers building residential communities to condos to luxury facilities to hotels. And now we're in about 5 or 6 cities in Mexico, and that's greatvillas.net. So greatdwellings.com on the US side, greatvillas.net, greatdwellings.com and greatvillas.net on the Mexico side.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Jon Rosen, thank you so much for your time here today and sharing with everybody your wisdom and experience in the short-term rental business. And I appreciate your time on here, sir. It's been very, very enlightening.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Bill.
All righty.
Have a great.
All right. That's a wrap.